Hello, welcome to the Otaku Empire channel. My name is Mewgen, and today I just wanted to do a video going over my manga collection. Future editing me, go ahead and do a pan down of this shelf right about now, as I'm speaking. And I also wanted to go over the sentiments I have behind some of these volumes. How I got them. Yeah. And just my history with my manga collection. As you can see here, this shelf in the top right doesn't actually have manga on it. I have too many American comics, like this, RoboCop, and I guess another thing like this, Spider-Man. Ooh. So if you or anyone you know would like to purchase some American comics in bulk, so I don't have a full shelf taken up, because I've got 3 bins aside from this that are full, which is why I have the overflow on my shelf. So I've got two shelves on my manga shelf that aren't actually containing manga. Anyway, focus me. If we're going over my manga collection, we're going over the sentiment, I guess we should start where it all started. Naruto. For me, for anime itself, I got into anime when I was little and not even old enough to really understand what was going on screen, and I used to visit my grandma a lot. And when I would visit her, we would stop by the library, and I wasn't much of a reader. I never have been, but there were some VHSs, just like there's DVDs at the library now, and I randomly picked out a Dragon Ball Z VHS, and I thought it was very cool. Didn't know what was going on. I vaguely remember seeing Vegeta encased in ice. That's all I remember. As time progressed, I would see Naruto on Toonami when I would be at my grandma's house or other people's houses, because I didn't have cable growing up. And then one day I was with my mom, and I saw this really beat up issue of Naruto in the back. Didn't say this in the initial recording, just clarifying now, I'm talking about the back of an old bookstore that was just random. Yeah. And I begged her for it, I really wanted it. And it is really beat up, as there's this, like, yeah, this stuff's bent, kind of grody, but it means a lot to me, because it's my first volume of manga, and I read this so many times when I was little. So yeah, the next manga series that I would get into would be because someone gifted me a volume, because they knew that I was getting into anime and manga when I was little, but there wasn't really much that was accessible at the time. So of course they're gonna try and help me get into the stuff, but also they're gonna stick to what's easily available. So One Piece. This was a gift from one of my mom's friends when I was little, but around the same time I got the Naruto volumes, and following this, I would start getting Naruto and One Piece volumes from Barnes & Noble. It didn't come damaged, but it's got some water damage, so you can see it's kind of fucked on the bottom, and I don't think it shows up on camera, but like this area is kind of curved backwards, so it's pushed to this way. And the other volume that was water damaged got a lot more fucked up. The spine is clearly screwed up, the bottom, but these two were stacked on top of each other, so clearly I was much farther into Naruto when I was reading One Piece, and this one got the better end of the stick. But yeah, that shelf's pretty much just Naruto, One Piece, and then one thing of Bleach that's not actually the manga, but a character book. Most of these were purchased at Barnes & Noble. These two here I got recently, because they were just at the local comic shop for cheap. Thought I'd just grab a couple for nostalgia's sake, but I haven't really watched or read Naruto since I was little. Next shelf down, this is something my grandma bought me. Dragon Ball. It was a used issue from a library, so the sticker's gone because I tried my best to remove it, but there's still some residue here in the back and on the side. Doesn't seem to be showing up on camera, but this, alongside that Naruto volume, read a lot of times. Back when I, didn't have a lot of access to anime and manga. And beside that is volumes 1 through 7 of Vampire Knight, followed by 10, 11, and 13, so there's some gaps there. I believe I only read up to 6, but the whole collection here of Vampire Knight was a gift from one of my friend's moms, because when I was hanging out at his house a lot when I was little, I kept asking, hey, can I read those? I really like manga and anime. And she kept saying, no, it seems kind of mature for your age. But then years later when I was in middle school, she, just gave me all her books. Never finished them. Vampire Knight, it's alright. On top of that, I've got some figures that are kind of rare. There's not much information on them out there on the internet. So I planned on using these to make a video about about the history of the figures. So I guess I'll be doing that in the future. I'm not gonna actually show them. Next to that is Hikaru no Go. Another thing my grandma bought for me. Didn't read this too much, but it got me interested in the game Go. And years later, now, a few months back, I actually tried playing Go, and I've been having fun playing it myself against bots, and then getting my friends into it and teaching them how to play, and then either wiping them on the floor because they don't actually understand the game, or my actually smart friend beating me over and over again because I monkey brain. I read volumes 2 and 3 from the library, because I had it at the school library, in fact, and then later bought volume 4. I had to actually get up and go out of my room to get this, because I've got most of the books right here on the shelf, but volume 1 was not in my room, because my mom said she would read it, and then she never did. But this is, as I would call it when I was little, like March, my birthday month. But it's actually pronounced Mare because it's got this umlaut above the A. I read this entire series over the course of like a week when I was, I think it was the summer between 3rd and 4th grade, maybe 4th and 5th grade. I'm not sure, but I was at my grandma's house, not my grandma that's bought me this and such, but my grandma on my dad's side. I didn't really enjoy being at her house at that summer. There were summers where I enjoyed being at her house because there was times where she was actively trying to be engaging, but this time I was kind of just sitting in the back room of her apartment on my tablet, and she made very little effort to actually talk to me. So instead, I used their internet, downloaded the entire series in images of this manga onto my old Nexus 7 tablet that my dad gave me, one of the only things he'd actually given me. I'm not gonna get into all the stuff with my dad. And I kind of feel like the series and stuff that I found through him, or when spending time with his family, filled the void left with that you know was left with him not really interacting with me much. Anyway, Mare is basically a old isekai because the main character Ginta Torimizu is transferred into the world of his dreams. Fucking loved it, and it was the first isekai I had read. It was a lot less common than compared to now. A couple years ago, I started collecting the manga. I haven't actually read it recently. I just, you know, thought, oh, it was the first manga I read all the way through, and I loved it. So got volumes 1 through 6, and then 8 and 9 on my shelf. There's, I believe, 13 volumes. A full shelf and a half of my manga shelf is Shonen Jump magazine, which you can see the half shelf here, and then below here is the full shelf that's not in view, but you saw it earlier when I did the pan down. It probably was awkward doing the pan down because my hand was probably wobbling a bit because I was holding a small webcam rather than using an actual camera. The lighting in this area is shit. This entire recording setup is fucking scuffed. The lighting here, in my room in general, and in where I'm at right now, is shit. My desk is over there. This is a little tiny couch. I put a lava lamp here to make the lighting a little bit better. Anyway, Shonen Jump magazine was another way I was able to read manga when I was younger. I would read issues over and over again, skip over a series that I wasn't really interested in. I'm not exactly sure which issue here was the first issue that I got, but alright, I found 2 issues of Shonen Jump that I know for a fact I got at Scholastic Book Fairs when I was in elementary school. So first off, I got an issue from 2008. I probably didn't buy it in 2008, they kind of just had overstock Shonen Jump volumes at Scholastic Book Fairs, I believe. And I believe when you would get these, they would still be in plastic wrapping, and it would say on top, free card inside, for Yu-Gi-Oh cards. And I know this specific issue came with Mephilectic Stardust Dragon, which is why I was looking through all the different volumes and looking at the back saying which card came with which one, because I knew for a fact my mom bought me an issue at Scholastic Book Fair that had that specific card, and she said never trade that. And it says right here, Mephilectic Stardust Dragon, which goes for $12 these days. Now there's quite a bit of history behind the Shonen Jump magazine American, Western run that I could get into, but I've never felt like it was deserving of its own video, and I don't think I can condense it enough to put it in this one. So if I ever go on the podcast for this channel, I'll probably try and have a segment talking about that. This is another thing that my grandma would buy for me. I'm fucking shaking the entire ass couch. And it was in 3rd grade. I was, always really into Pokemon. But what kid growing up at that time wasn't? And, even now, everyone's still raving and ranting about Pokemon. I have my, name online, Mew, Pokemon. So 3rd grade, people in my class also had the same series, except none of us had more than 1 volume, and it was all different volumes. So we would just trade back and forth, and I didn't start out with volume 2. I had like 3 or 5, I don't know, but this is the one I ended up with at the end of the year. It's been a while since I've actually read through this, but loved it. Haven't really said much about stuff beyond loved it and when I read it, and I felt like this would be an engaging video going over, my history with manga, but I don't feel like I've done the best job. Skipping forward, Going straight towards out of my elementary days and when I was getting into first, reading manga, and into when stuff was a bit more accessible to me. In middle school, there was 3 series that I read either all the way through or almost all the way through, and that started out with A Silent Voice. I think the movie is good, but as an adaptation, it is not. It is bad. It is a bad adaptation. So I don't really like the movie very much. I loved the manga. If we're talking in terms of getting the story across, the movie got the very very basic plot across. It didn't actually have the same ending. The ending felt very conclusive for this series, and it kind of showed all the characters going off on their merry way and doing things with their own lives. Speaking of characters, no one's character arc was explored in the movie. The only arc that was in the movie was the central arc of the entire story. No one's character was explored, not even the main 2 characters that the movie's about. So, yeah, I love this. It felt like something that I could really connect to as a kid when I was first reading it. Like, the characters are in high school for the majority of the series, but it felt still like something I could connect to when I was in middle school. And I still love it now as someone who's a few days away from graduating high school. I only have 1 volume. I've read all 7 volumes. I borrowed them from the library that was near my school. The other series that I read in middle school was another one of the 3 series I read in middle school a lot was Magi. I haven't really watched the anime. I don't really plan to. I watched a couple episodes. It was nice. I watched it years after being done with the manga. I stopped reading like 28 volumes in. I believe there's 38 volumes, so there's been 10 volumes that have come out, to my knowledge, since I stopped reading in my freshman years when I stopped reading, because I tried to continue reading more volumes as they came out during that year, but my teacher was just like, you need to stop reading that shit. It's bad, but it's what I enjoy. And since then, my time spent reading manga has declined a fair bit. I kind of just have lost really interest and time for reading for enjoyment. Still do so occasionally, like with this series I'll get to in a bit. But yeah, Magi, loved it. The characters, tightly knit trio, which is why I bought this volume, because this was a issue that I loved the most, especially for the cover art when I was initially reading it. The only 2 volumes I actually own are 8 and 17, which were just entirely random volumes that I saw at a local comic book shop for cheap, and not like in the new manga section, but just a used stuff that they're selling for cheaper. So I just thought, might as well spend $3, pick it up. The other volume is also, which is everyone happy. What I enjoyed most about the series was people, hanging out, the character interaction, but over time, there was a lot less carefree interaction with the characters. It's not like I didn't like the action. I liked the action, but it became more and more action-oriented, and near the time that I was that I stopped reading it, there would just be entire chapters of literal explosions and no dialogue, which was not interesting to me to any degree. One of the last issues I read before going into high school was pretty much an entire volume of lore dump, and that was great. It just wowed me, like, wow, they really thought this all out, and this is something that has been there since the beginning. that I'm now just finding out about, and it was fun. I don't remember anything about the lore dump, just that it was very informational and interesting. I'm using very undescriptive words. Then again, it's something I haven't read in years, but something that I will always love. And then, something right next to that on the same shelf that isn't exactly manga, but my satanic Bible I picked up from my grandma's apartment after she died. There's that. But more importantly, the third series I read during that period of my life, Nisikoi. Yeah. Just cute rom-com, fun characters doing crazy shit. I haven't watched the anime, likely won't. At the time I really wanted to watch the anime, but there wasn't a dub, and this was during the time that I would not watch stuff subbed, and I still don't watch stuff subbed most of the time. If I'm gonna watch something subbed, I'm gonna have to pay attention to it, and I don't really have the biggest attention span. I'm kind of all over the place, except for right now I've been kind of slow with how I'm doing stuff, and again, I don't feel like I'm doing the best with this video, but I'm trying. Something I neglected to mention while talking about the Nisikoi anime and how I haven't seen it is that I have actually seen the second opening for the second season, and I love it. It is a good song, and something that encapsulates everything that I loved about the manga. It just had the chaotic energy of the comedy in the manga, and showed off all the characters being themselves, doing crazy shit, and trying to get something done, kind of combating each other, while like getting in each other's way, but in the end also helping each other and getting the objective done. And it's just so fun and upbeat, and I don't know. It's got that fun energy, and encapsulates exactly what made the manga so fun. This volume is the Japanese print. Picked it up when I was on a field trip sophomore year, or field trip. It was something we did on our own outside of class, because for Japanese class, we were expected to go out and do stuff on our own to interact with the Japanese language. So a bunch of kids from my class and I went out to a Japanese store, Japanese supermarket. Right. It's called the Wajimaya. I forgot what city it was in. It's over in Beaverton. I'm in Portland. And they have a thing there they call Uwaji-con. Here, I'm gonna go just grab. Here I have my badge from that year, 2018. Covering up my name because I don't want that public. But yeah, got some stuff there, including this volume from the store. But mostly kind of just hung out outside where the actual free convention stuff was going on, because it was just a little free con to promote the store. And I got this just as something to remember that trip with my, not necessarily friends, but just classmates. I was the only one who actually cared about anime there, and it's clear that most of them did not like me. But, love this series, and thought I'd pick this up just to remember that event, and also, reading it back in middle school. Here in Portland, we have a bookstore called Pal's Books that has two locations, one downtown and one on the opposite side of the river, because the city is split by river. And the downtown location is, to my knowledge, the biggest bookstore in the States. Not like in reach, but just in one store size. The reason I say it's that big is because it takes up an entire city block. I got this volume of the Promise Neverland at the smaller location, and I hadn't actually read anything about it. I just knew that it was popular at the time. This was me purchasing it my freshman year, and read the first 2 volumes at the time, and then over time kept reading it, but read most of it my sophomore year, so the next year. And when I had caught up with the manga, they announced that there would be an anime, and that got me really hyped, and aired the same year, and loved it. The first season, it was pretty much a one-to-one adaptation of the manga. I feel the Promise Neverland Season 1 was really good, and generally the only changes it had were things that added to the overall narrative, and made it a all-around better story. Not that there was anything drastically different that made it a different story, just that it felt a little nicer having some of the extra stuff that they added. For instance, Isabella's lullaby, you know, like, they couldn't really work that into a book anyway. There is one singular... I don't think it's in either of the volumes that I own. I own volumes 1 and 2. Because those are the ones that I read first. Yes, here it is. Okay. I feel... Okay, spoilers, if you haven't seen the Season 1 or read the manga. This panel here, the penmanship is amazing right here. And I do not feel like it was done justice in the anime. This expression on Emma's face is amazing. This entire panel was fucking genius. So yeah, that's in volume 2. Another thing that is recent reading material for me, that I picked up near the middle of last year, probably a few months before COVID started to hit the US, was My Hero Academia Vigilantes Volume 1. Picked this up at the downtown location of Powell's. I fucking love it. It's not written by Horikoshi. It's a different author. I think it was even a fan who started writing their own story, and then Horikoshi caught wind of it and was like, hey, I want this to be canon and help you publish this. I'm not sure that's actually what happened or not. That is what I put together after reading this. Real quick, checking the My Hero Academia wiki to fact check myself, it was not a fan who conceived the idea for My Hero Academia Vigilantes. It was one of the editors who wanted to make a spin-off and contacted another person to do the illustrations. So, he already had that going for him when he pitched the idea to have this as another thing in serialization. So, not Horikoshi acknowledging fans, though he does have a history of doing that in the past, like he's retweeted fans' art in the past on Twitter before. Anyway, just thought I'd, throw that out there, that I'm not going to be putting out false information. If possible, I'm going to fact check myself whenever I can. And seeing the back and forth between Horikoshi and the author of this, because between chapters there'll be little notes. And some of the notes, they even talk about the designs for the characters and how they're based off Western comics. For instance, there's a point between chapters where they say, if All Might is Superman, then this fucker's Batman. Anyway, My Academia Vigilantes basically focuses on the vigilantes, basically superheroes who work without a license, just doing, good deeds, which, they're not supposed to do that. And I feel like it's just it's a nice part of the world that is explored, and it honestly at times, to me, for just my taste and stuff, feels better than the actual series itself. Feels like its own world building off of what Horikoshi established. And I also got volume 7 here because I got that a few months back. Because the reason I got 1 and 7 is I had read the other volumes either online or through the library. And this also has a lot of like references to niche things. For instance, there's a panel where they say, where they're like, "How dare you challenge the Mazinger Karate Club?" Which, if you don't know what Mazinger is, that is a old mech show from like the 70s. I've got a volume of the light novel right here. At first glance, you might just, if you're not a big mech person or a Gundam person, which I'm not, you might just look at this and say, "Oh, Gundam! Right? Gundam? Right?" No. Basically, during that scene, there was a bunch of people with the same head that looked like the head of the mech from that series, of the same name of the people in the club, Mazinger. I'm not saying that correctly, probably. And I thought that was just a very nice reference. There's also a scene from that same volume where a guy with a Thomas the Tank Engine head is chasing another guy, and he's just saying "toot toot." It's just really goofy. There's all these different references. The characters are really nice. It just builds on the world of My Hero Academia so well. Something I neglected to mention when talking about My Hero Academia Vigilantes is that there's actually a backstory given to Stain, the main villain of Season 2, that you wouldn't get otherwise. I currently am not caught up with My Hero Academia. The Season 5 is currently airing. I've seen Season 1, 2, and 3. I started 4, didn't finish it, want to finish it. I hear that Season 5 has the fight between Class 1A and 1B, and I really like the characters in 1B. They're really cool. So, like, part of me wants to just skip ahead and start watching the fights, because you know I want to see more of those characters that haven't been represented as much in earlier seasons. Anyway, there's some extra stuff to do with other characters from the main series that you wouldn't get otherwise if you didn't read Vigilantes, and I doubt that Vigilantes will ever get its own series. If it ever gets anything, it'll be like a couple episode OVA. And I honestly love it, and hell, even like it a little bit more than the main series. Hell, I might even make a more in-depth video on it when I can actually, have reread everything and do more than just say this is good, and I can like actually, be analytical. But yeah, that's something I've been reading recently. Love it. Alright, I think I'm just gonna wrap it up there with, just ending things off with the My Hero Academia stuff and talking about what I've read recently. I've complained a few times just saying that I don't feel like I'm doing the best here with the idea I had for, showing up my manga collection and talking about the sentiment behind some issues. But I tried my best. Hopefully, you saw some stuff you liked, you just enjoy hearing the stories. Anyway, again, thank you for watching. This is from the Otaku Empire channel, so if you're interested in more videos from this channel, hit the subscribe button. If you're interested in more of me as an individual and not just the channel, my stuff will be linked below, like my Twitter, my Discord, the Discord for this channel, my YouTube channel will be there. If you want to, take me up on that offer I mentioned earlier in the video and, help me downsize so I don't have an entire shelf of just American comics. Contact info, again, my shit's down there. Twitter. This is a lot less interesting than I thought it was gonna be. Or maybe I'm just boring.